I may be in the middle of a crisis right now, but I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm doing okay. We're gonna power through this. Alright, guys. Welcome back to this week's episode. Episode 24. 24. Hopefully. 24.
Okay.
Alright. Now that we got that squared away, guys. We are super close to hitting our goal of 100 subscribers. So, please subscribe because we will be doing a giveaway once we hit 100 followers. And if we hit it here within the next couple days, we might as well combine it with our Twitter one and do an even bigger getaway. So, double the chance to win here. I think, double the chance to win. And we'll do another one if we get to 500 by the end of the year. Or did I say 1,000 by the end of the year? I said either 500 or 1,000 by the end of the year.
You said 500.
Okay. Listen,
I think you said 500.
Ambitious. I can be ambitious. Even bigger giveaway if we get to 1,000 by the end of the year. Or even more. So stay on the lookout for that because we will be doing that. Did I have anything else on that topic? I don't think I did.
Please like, comment, subscribe, turn on your post notifications, and yeah, a hot mess. Alright, moving on. So, to stupid statistics, 98 goals were scored during the Frozen Frenzy in the NHL.
Yeah, so literally 98 goals in the span of like 7 hours maybe? So all these games were being played at the same. Sorry, I'm new to NHL, kind of, but like not really, but like kind of am. But so like, but 98 goals, that's like pretty much 100 in like 7-8 hours time span, maybe even less. I don't know. I kind of feel like it was less than that, but I know it ended at 1:36 a.m.
The San Jose Sharks are the first team in NHL history to lose their first 9 games in a back-to-back season.
Yeah, so that's not the best way to make NHL history.
Anyways, so Danny Dimes, also known as Daniel Jones, hasn't thrown a touchdown pass in New York City since New Year's Day in 2023. This is 664 days.
That streak will continue because they are playing away this week.
Lovely. Alright, so the Denver Broncos are estimated to consume around 700 Uncrustables a week. Estimated in NFL teams altogether consume at least 80,000 Uncrustables this season. Insert Uncrustables.
The Uncrustables blowing up.
Yeah, I didn't. 3 of the drivers on the grid weren't born when Fernando Alonso made his F1 debut. This was Oscar, Franco, and Liam, including me.
Honestly, yeah, same. Me too. That's just crazy.
So now we're moving to the NBA. The New Orleans Pelicans, DeJounte Murray suffers broken hand in debut against the Bulls. Okay. And the Minnesota Timberwolves and center Rudy Gobert reach a 3-year, $110 million contract extension. And then Aaron Gordon and the Nuggets agreed on a 4-year, $133 million contract extension. That's a lot of money that I will never have. Okay, moving on. Okay, to the NFL. I'll be doing the scores as I usually do. Pray for me. All right. The Rams beat the Vikings 30-20. Packers beat the Jaguars 30-27. The Cardinals beat the Dolphins 28-27. Patriots beat the Jets 25-22. Browns beat the Ravens 29-24. Eagles beat the Bengals 37-17. Texans beat the Colts 23-20. Lions beat the Titans 52-14. Broncos beat the Panthers 28-14. Chiefs beat the Raiders 27-20. The Commanders beat the Bears 18-15. Bills beat the Seahawks 31-10. Chargers beat the Saints 26-8. Falcons beat Buccaneers 31-26, and the 49ers beat the Cowboys 30-24. And the Giants versus the Steelers will be tomorrow night at 8:50.
All right. Well, for those of you who haven't heard, which if you've been watching, I'm pretty sure you've heard because this is all the analysts and announcers are talking about, but it was National Tight Ends Day. So, George Kittle caught his 500th pass, and he had 6 receptions for 128 yards in the 49ers win over the Cowboys. And so we had some players switching teams and stuff. So the Titans trade wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins to the Chiefs in exchange for a 5th round pick, which could potentially change into a 4th round pick. I believe that's depending on the numbers that DeAndre Hopkins puts up and how many snaps, or maybe one of them. I'm not quite sure, but I know that it's based on how DeAndre plays. But that's big news because now the Chiefs are signing a top wide receiver, and after all, theirs keep getting hurt. So, fingers crossed that he doesn't get hurt. Yeah, and then the Packers hire former Jets head coach Robert Saleh as a consultant. So now that he's not a head coach, he's working as a consultant. And I'm pretty sure he got this job because he knows Matt LaFleur, the Packers head coach. So, I mean, use your connections, I guess. And then the
Why
Houston...
not?
Yeah, exactly. The Houston Texans sign linebacker free agent Devin White. The Tennessee Titans trade Ernest Jones for Jerome Baker and a 4th round pick with the Seahawks. The Saints and running back Alvin Kamara agree to a 2-year, $24.5 million extension. Just a random thing to throw in here. Speaking of running backs, Derrick Henry has more rushing yards than 23 of the teams this season. So shout out to Derrick Henry, King Henry. Panthers QB Andy Dalton was in a car accident earlier this week. So he's dealing with a thumb injury, so he didn't play this week. Unfortunately, Bucs wide receiver Chris Godwin was placed on injury reserve after being diagnosed with a dislocated ankle. This is unfortunate for Godwin because he was having a career year this year, and now that he's injured, he can't play. He's not expected to come back this season. And on top of all that, he was expected to become a free agent after this season. So, yeah, unfortunate for him. And then, in addition to Chris Godwin being injured, Mike Evans also got injured, but his injury isn't as severe, and he's expected to play week 11, I believe? Week 10 or 11? So, yeah. At least they'll get some good wide receiver back here, but seeing as they lost this week, that's missing a big part of your team there. And then DK Metcalf suffered a grade 1 sprained MCL in last week's win over the Falcons, and he didn't end up playing this week. So I guess he's considered week to week, and we'll see again next week if he plays or not. And then Jordan Love exited the Packers game early today with a groin injury. And then Malik Willis came in, and he led the team all the way down with like 2 minutes or something left, and got the team to field goal, and they won. So 30-27. So, still good. Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa returned after his whole concussion, CTE, all that jazz. He returns, but unfortunately, the Dolphins still lost on the last second field goal to the Cardinals. So, that begs the question, are the Dolphins really that bad? Because everyone was like, oh, it's just because we don't have Tua. We don't have Tua. Well, you had Tua this week and you still lost. And then, Jaguars wide receiver Christian Kirk broke his collarbone today during their game. So he's done for this season, and this is unfortunate for him because he's a pretty good wide receiver, number one. Number two, he was actually a trade candidate going into this week, and now no one wants him because he's injured. So he's not going to play for a better team. Which is unfortunate. So yeah. Alright. Yeah, literally. Poor guy. And then we're moving on to soccer here. So in Serie A, the AC Milan game got postponed. I don't know why, but it got postponed. And then we'll move on to the Premier League because the only team I watch in Serie A is AC Milan. So, but in the Premier League, Man City beat Southampton 1-0. Chelsea beat Newcastle 2-1. Crystal Palace beat Tottenham 1-0. And Liverpool tied Arsenal. And then in La Liga, Atleti lost to Real Betis 1-0. And USMNT Johnny Cardoso got man of the match. So shout out to Johnny. I'm really glad that you got man of the match, even though I wasn't watching the game, but that's besides the point. I saw that you got man of the match, so that's all that counts. And then of course we have El Clasico this weekend. Even though it really wasn't like, El Clasico, because the scoreline was 5-0 in favor of Barcelona. Which makes me feel better for the game that Barcelona played earlier this week, which we will get to in a hot sec. But Barcelona scored 5, so 2 goals from Robert Lewandowski, a goal from Lamine Yamal, and a goal from Rafinha. So this was kind of lopsided in the way that Real Madrid had more corners than Barcelona did. But at the same time, Real Madrid had 12 offside calls against them and Barcelona only had 1. But that's because of Barcelona's high line that they play, that their new coach implemented. That Bayern should never let go, but that's besides the point. So yeah, love that. And then we're on to the Bundesliga because Bayern's my team. Bayern beat Bochum 5-0. Goals from Michael Olise, Jamal Musiala, Harry Kane, Leroy Sané, and Kingsley Coman. So right now, Bayern are actually tied for the top of the Bundesliga with RB Leipzig. But we'll have to wait for another couple weeks to see how we end up doing or not. I don't believe that there were any injuries during our game today, so that's really nice. And I did see this week on social media that Alexander Pavlovich has resumed training after his collarbone surgery. So that's good. It looks like he's recovering good. So
here are the Champions League scores. Monaco wins 5-1. AC Milan wins 3-1. Arsenal wins 1-0. VfB Stuttgart wins 1-0 over Timen. Sporting Lisbon wins 2-0. Real Madrid wins 5-2. PSG ties with PSV 1-1. Girona wins 2-0. And Aston Villa wins 2-0.
All right, and then Atalanta and Celtic tie 0-0. Brest and Leverkusen tie also 1-1. Liverpool wins 1-0 over RB Leipzig. Manchester City win 5-0 over Sparta. This pains me to say. Barcelona win 4-1 over Bayern Munich. Lille win 3-1 over Atleti. Dynamo win 2-0 over 10 men RB Salzburg. Feyenoord win 3-1 over Benfica. And Inter Milan win 1-0 over Young Boys. All right, and now
Slay.
we're moving on to F1. So I don't even know where I want to begin with this. So we got to start from the beginning of qualifying, I think, because free practice doesn't matter. So in Q1, the big shocker is Oscar and Checo going out in Q1.
That was rough. I was honestly shocked not so shocked with Perez, but I do feel bad for him because he's got all his supporters around him and stuff. But with Oscar, I was shocked. I honestly didn't know what to say for that.
Yeah, I guess all the stuff that he said in the media, and he was like, well, had that lap not been deleted, like, I would have been through, and I was like, would you have been, though? Because the announcers were saying that he wouldn't have, but I guess he's saying, like, had he not made that mistake, he would have been a second faster or something like that. So then that made sense that he would have made it, but I don't know, it's just, and I think that so while watching this happen, it was like 3:30 left in Q1, I believe, something like that, and it just, I just had this gut feeling, and I was like, you know what, this just doesn't feel right, and the announcers were saying he should just box, get some fuel, and then come back out and see if he can get a slipstream or something. But what McLaren did, they actually sent him for a cool down, or not a cool down, but a cool lap, and then run again. And that lap, he didn't do great either. And I was just like, this is not what he's been showing in free practice. Like, what happened? So, I don't know. Honestly, I have no idea what happened.
In my 2 cents on this, I just don't think this was his track. He just did not have a good weekend. I mean, he had his ups, but he definitely had his downs. But hopefully next week will be better, or this weekend.
Yeah. And then in Q2, with like 20 seconds left, Yuki Tsunoda crashed into the wall in Sector 3. So everyone that was on a flying lap up until that point did not get it. So that was unfortunate because it stopped not only Yuki's lap, but Fernando's and Lance's and Liam's and Bottas's, but that doesn't he was not getting through Q2 anyway, so it doesn't matter.
No.
And so with those 5 going out, that meant that Lando was going through to Q3, and he became the 16th driver to reach 100 Q3 appearances. And so actually I found the stat online that he's gone through 124 qualifying appearances, and so he's made 100 out of 124 to Q3, and so that equates to around 80.6% of the time. So that's actually a pretty impressive stat right there. Alright, and then this Grand Prix is Fernando's 400th Grand Prix. So shout out to Fernando for 400 races. That's great. I still can't get over that.
A lot of races. So the GP results, which were pretty good in my opinion. Carlos in first, Lando in second, and Charles in third. Carlos also earned Driver of the Day. I voted for him. Charles bonus for the fastest lap as well. 6 drivers have won multiple races for only the second time in Formula One history, which is pretty impressive. Those drivers are Verstappen, Norris, Charles, Hamilton, Piastri, and Sainz. So good for them. This is the first time that it's happened since 1981. The retirements coming up from Yuki, Alex, and Fernando. That was honestly, like, after Yuki wrecked, literally in the first, I was just watching. I'm like, let's go. I'm like rooting for Carlos, and then all of a sudden Yuki's out. And I'm like, no, not Yuki. Not Yuki. And then it took Alex out with him, which Alex has had a rough weekend. And then just, it's really sad because then later on you see Alonso has had to retire early, which really sucked because this was his 400th race. And he was sad, and I felt bad for him. I really did.
So actually, I saw this somewhere, but this is just what happened when Fernando started his 300th Grand Prix, is that he retired the car early as well. So maybe he just has bad karma on the 100s.
They'd be really doing him dirty, for real. And then, Oscar honestly was pretty impressive today to come up from P17 all the way to P8. And he was having to get around some difficult drivers today. So kudos to him because he really did that. And then Max getting the 20-second penalty from forcing Lando off the track 2 different times and wasn't even ahead. And the fact that it all happened with literally 30 seconds of themselves, basically.
Back-to-back
Like, it was all the same
corners.
lap. I literally was watching, and I was like, penalty! Are we not going to talk about that? And then they finally he got the penalty for the first one. And I was like, okay, where's the second one? You're making us wait. It's clearly obvious. The second one was actually way worse than the first one. The second one could have caused like a horrible accident, but he finally got it. And I was like, and to the people who are saying it's not deserved, it's deserved. He was driving reckless and he almost caused an accident.
Well, not even
So,
like
that's my 2 cents on it. He deserved it.
But like, honestly, I was surprised to see the 10-second penalty come out right away, because I thought for sure the first one would be 5 and then it would jump up to 10, and then it would be a 15-second penalty rather than 20. But when I saw the 10-second penalty, let me just tell you, I was like, this is what you get for last week. Like, and we didn't say this, but McLaren actually had a petition or whatever to like review the footage from last week to like new evidence that Max was not the car being overtaken or whatever. It was something else. I forgot how they worded it. But the stewards denied that decision. So whatever. But they need more consistency, like, and the way that Max was driving, it was just not safe. And like, even Lando, like his post-race interviews and stuff, like, yes, I expected him to come out and be aggressive, but like, this week is pretty dangerous too. Like, we shouldn't be driving like this. And I have to agree, because the first one, he forces him off to begin with, and then he's just like, alright, well, Lando has the place, but I'm not gonna let him go through. Well, no, because the first one is when he cut the corner and jumped Carlos, right?
Yeah.
So the first
If I'm
one,
correct.
he does that, he gives Carlos the place back, and then Max is just there, and he just throws it on the inside and takes them both off, because there was no way that Lando wasn't gonna make the corner. Bull crap. He totally was gonna make the corner. Like, it even showed him making the corner until you see Max's car just on the inside, and it's just like, that was
he
so
literally cut him off.
unsafe. It was so unsafe, and that let Charles by to go up to second and like ruin Lando's race. Like, I mean, I see the 20-second penalty, don't get me wrong, and I did totally think that it was gonna be a 15-second penalty. But like, he should not be able to drive this recklessly, and the stewards need to do something about it.
Literally. I mean, I can understand where you're coming from, like, I was not expecting the first 10-second penalty, but the second one was deserved because that second time he deliberately was just being reckless. The first time can be put up to anyone's interpretation, but I do believe his penalties were deserved because he was driving reckless. And you can state your opinions in the comments, but that's just my 2 cents on the situation. But if you don't realize how reckless he was driving, then you need to go back and rewatch the whole thing over again because I was literally sitting in my seat like, did that just happen? Like, that almost caused a wreck. So, yeah, that's
I
just
also
my 2
kind
cents
of
on it.
feel like it was kind of like a makeup call for what happened in Austin, but like it didn't really help Lando too much, you know?
No. Anyways, so back to our notes. So Charles losing the car out of the last turn in the later laps, allowing Lando the second place spot. I was not prepared for that. And I was honestly scared he was gonna wreck for a second there. And I think he was too.
Yeah, so actually around this time they had reported about like rain and weather and everyone was like, "Oh, it's just a few drops, it'll be fine." But apparently the wind changed or something, and I honestly thought it was a lapse in focus, but everyone's saying that the winds shifted. And then Lando came out afterwards and was like, "Yeah, the winds shifted and it like low-key helped him." Um, but I was like, "Oh my gosh, did that just like?" I was flabbergasted. I was
Yeah.
not
Anyways, also adding to that, he had a 30-second gap between him and George. And he was between Lando at this time and George. So he had a 30-second lap on George at one point, which I was watching it. I was like, yeah, there's no way George is getting anywhere near him. He's just currently just playing with Hamilton at this point. They're just trading positions.
Yeah, Mercedes race was pretty much against themselves this weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I have to say on that because it was just them battling pretty much.
Yeah.
And then even Max, then in the later laps, once he switched to the hard tires, he could not keep up with them. There was like at least a 10-second gap between Mercedes and Max. It's not close.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And then, to add to the lightheartedness of everything, Haas got double points in the finish. So good for them. They earned it. They did really good in the race. I was actually kind of shocked they were doing really good. So good for them. They earned it.
K-Mag had his best finish of the season with P.
So applause to them. They earned it. Yeah.
I do have something else to add that maybe we should talk about. So Checo and Liam Wilson had a little scuttle going on there for a lot of their race. I don't even know where to begin with that because that was like a whole mess. Did I send you the one video of Liam passing Checo and what he did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was being very colorful
flipping the bird.
Checo.
That's some nerve to do that in his home country too.
Right? I just wanted to be the fly on the wall. I wanted to be George.
You did.
If you guys know what I mean, I wanted to be George. I did. I am nosy. Let me know the tea. What's going on? Anyways, moving on. The constructor standings are at this so far, which is actually pretty cool because Ferrari has passed Red Bull. So McLaren has 566, Ferrari has 537, Red Bull has 512, Mercedes has 344, and Aston Martin has 86. So some big excitement for the Ferraris. They earned it. They earned it. Then we have the drivers standing so far. Max is at 362, Lando is at 315, Charles is at 291, Oscar is at 251, Carlos is at 240, Hamilton is at 189, and George is at 177, Checo is at 150, Fernando is at 62, and Hulkenberg is at 31. Everyone from Lewis and below is mathematically eliminated, and Lando has to outscore Max by 12 points each weekend to win the Drivers' Championship by 1 point.
So this is where that one race comes back to haunt them, where they didn't switch positions and he could have 7 extra points or something like that. Oh! That's the Hungary race! Anyway. Then Oscar wouldn't be a 2-time winning Grand Prix winner. But that's besides the point. Okay, whatever, I don't care. Alright, moving on to the radar points. Julie's up first. Just hit my mic.
Okay. Alright, so I'm gonna be honest. I don't know who to tell you to watch. But my best game, and I don't even like the Packers, but I think because they're both doing pretty okay. The Lions and the Packers game. Check it out.
Pretty okay.
I would say the Chiefs, but I don't like the Chiefs.
Nah. The Chief, nah. I'm not even, nah. I'm not even there.
Nah.
No. It's not it.
I would say the Vikings, but the past 2 weeks, they have just not been on their A game. Or maybe, I don't know what's going on, but, like, I still like them. I'm rooting for them. I want them to win, but, like, that's all I got.
Alright.
Hate me in the comments.
Not again.
You know what? Actually, here's the deal. You tell me what to watch this time. Because I got no idea.
Alright. My game is RB Leipzig versus Borussia Dortmund because this has implications for the Bundesliga title standings. So it will be this Saturday, not Sunday, Saturday morning. I believe 10:30 a.m., but I could be wrong and it could be 9:30. I don't know. I'm a little bit confused because it's daylight savings again this weekend. As we're wrapping up the episode, podium predictions again. So last week, I did okay. You did better. And I'm only saying that because you got Ferrari in first, and I had Ferrari in second. Then we both had McLaren in third. Anyways, so since you got Ferrari, I'll let you go first. Who do you think is winning this week?
Well, honestly, with this, I hope Lando, but with Ferrari's track record right now, I honestly say maybe a Ferrari again. So I'm gonna say Ferrari, McLaren, and maybe another McLaren, but I could say Ferrari as well.
Alright.
I'm not putting Mercedes back up there again just because of their track record this past weekend.
Just after what happened.
I'm sorry.
Them 30-second gaps. Alright, so because this is Brazil, I'm gonna go opposite of you, and I am gonna put a Mercedes in third. I really shouldn't put the Mercedes in third, but I'm going to anyways. I am going to put a McLaren on top because I believe that had the whole thing with Max not gone down, Lando could have won. But anyways, so McLaren 1, Mercedes 3. I am I'm gonna go, and it's a sprint. Oh, that impacts. Here's where you speed it up, and it's just me freaking out for 10 seconds. I'm not gonna put a Red Bull up there. Do I want to go double McLaren or should I go? All right, I guess I'll go with Ferrari in second, and then I'll go McLaren in fourth as well because I think it will actually be closer than what we think, and I think it will be like Silverstone a little bit, where Mercedes just was like good out of nowhere, but not good enough to win. And
Alright, guys. First of all, thanks for watching. Second of all, don't forget to subscribe, turn on our post notifications, check out our other social media pages down below, and check out our links. Leave a like if you think Oscar has a redemption arc and is getting on the podium. Comment who you think will win and your predictions at the Brazilian Grand Prix. And don't forget, if we hit 100 subscribers, we're going to do a giveaway at the end of this month.
so subscribe.
We're so close, y'all. Please. We stayed up till 2 a.m. for y'all.